Hello all, welcome back. In this session, we are going to understand the use of React hooks, and we are going to focus on one specific hook called the useState hook. So even before starting off with hooks, what we learned in our previous session, we are looking at React class components. So React class components, we are looking at how to create a simple class component, and we are looking at the various lifecycle methods. We are looking at the life cycle of a class component and the various life cycle methods that, that run during the various phases, namely mounting, updating, and unmounting phases. Finally, we looked at how to manage state within a React class component. So we were using this count state variable. We initialize that to 0. And then we were calling setState method using an event handler to manipulate this state variable. And we were performing this using React class components. The understanding of this is very crucial for us to understand useState method with respect to React hooks. So if you have not visited my previous lecture on React class components, please visit that first and come to this lecture. So what is the React hook? See, these are React class components. React hooks help us with function components. See, I have a function component. What is a function component? We write a function. It's not a class. But within the function, say if I want to manage the state like a class component, how to perform that? So that was the question. So for that, they came out with certain special methods that help us to hook into the functionalities provided in the class level components so that it can be supported in the function level components. To put it simple, we are managing state inside the class component. If you want to manage state inside the function component, we need some special methods. These are called React hooks, and we'll be focusing on this specific method, useState, which will be used for managing state inside the function components. So there are various other special methods that help us to manage all the lifecycle features inside functions. We have various methods like use reducer, use callback, use effect, use context, a lot of methods under React hooks, but we'll be focusing on use state method. So let me repeat it. What is a hook? See, in class components, we looked at how to manage state. The same way, if we are interested in managing state inside a functional component wherein we use functions, we need some special functions to do that. So such special functions are called React hooks, and useState is one such special function which will help us manage state within a functional component. If you didn't understand the definitions or this explanation so far, nothing to worry. First, visit my previous lecture and take a look at the demonstration in this lecture so that you'll be able to understand difference and you'll be able to understand how things work with respect to hooks. So let's move on to the definition. What are hooks? As I told you, these are nothing but special functions which were added in React 16.8. What is the use of this? So it helps us to hook into React state and other lifecycle features we add with React class components from the functional components perspective. So as I told you, we are going to only focus on one specific function under the hooks, that is useState hook. What is the use of this useState? It helps us in managing state in functional components. So we have already managed state using a class component. Here we are going to use useState function and then we are going to manage state within a functional component. So let's take a look at this specific function or function component which I have written, countClicks.js. So what this function component has, it has a button which the user clicks. When the user clicks, an event handler is called, and the button is clicked so many number of times. So you have a variable for which we have to maintain the state. So how you maintain the state for this variable is, the first thing is you should import useState from React. So this is the function that we are going to use. And what this function takes in as a parameter is the initial value for your count. Count will be initially 0, right? That is the value that it takes. And returns two things. One is the state variable count, and setState is the method that's used for manipulating this state variable. So in our class components, we have seen the use of setState method. Here we are given the same name. Actually, we can give any name for this method here, but we are given setState. What is the use of setState? It will manipulate this count variable. So what's happening when the user clicks on this button, the event handler comes into picture, and it's going to call the setState method and increment the count by 1, so that every time the user clicks, count will be incremented by 1. So what will be your output? The button is clicked 0 times will be the initial output. When the user clicks the button, event handler works, and then the state changes. The value gets incremented by 1 every time. So how the state gets manipulated? It gets manipulated using the setState method, and that is being written as part of useState. So useState is the hook that helps us to manage state within functional components. Let's code this and understand how it works. Let's go to Visual Studio, and let me go to the source folder and add a file. I'll call this file as counttheclicks.js. It should be actually T caps, C caps. And I've installed this snippet, ES7 snippet, which I'll use for creating the functional component, count the clicks. And what this functional component will return is, it will return a button. So you're going to have a button, and the event handler is on click event. The event is on click event, and we'll call the event handler by name, that is handle click. And on the button, we'll be mentioning click here. We'll also have a paragraph element which says how many times the button was clicked. The button was clicked. You can access the state variable count times. Now we need to use the useState hook. Let's import useState from React, and we'll call this method useState. It's the hook. And what will be the initial value of count? It will be 0, and this returns two things. So here comes the array destructuring concept. If you're not clear with array destructuring, I put up an entire video lecture on array destructuring in JavaScript. I'll be leaving the link for the description below. Please go through that so that you understand this particular step. So it returns the variable, it returns the state variable, and also the method that will be used for manipulating the state variable. Now, when the user clicks on handle click, let us call the setState method and update the variable. So let's code this handle click, constant handle click. It's an arrow function. So let's so inside handle click, we'll call setState to manipulate the state variable, and we'll increment count by 1. So that's it. So that's how you manage state using the useState hook. Let's go to our index.js. Let's import click count the clicks. So it is import count the clicks from counttheclicks.js. And what is that we're going to do is, we'll call this component here, count the clicks. Save it. Let's take a look at the output. So the button was clicked 0 times. That's because it was initialized to 0 using useState hook. When I click, it increments. So that's how we manage state within a function component. So what are those Things that are important here, we should import useState, and we should call that, we should pass the initial value for our state variable. And this also returns the method which will be used for manipulating the state variable. So we have an event happening here. When the user clicks, we call that event handler, and we call that method to manipulate the state variable. See, when you're manipulating the state variable, you should use the method to manipulate it. You should not manipulate the state variable directly. So that's how you manage state within an functional component using this useState hook. Not only this, you have various other hooks, like you have use context, use reducer, use callback, use memo, and use effect. There are a lot of other hooks, but we are focused only on one hook in this session. You can explore the other hooks if time permits. I'll also be putting up video lectures on all the other hooks too. That's it for now. I hope you have an understanding of how and what is the use of hooks in React. Take care.